Assalamualaikum to everybody. My name is Noshila binti Buyamin. My title is Experimental Investigation of the Equivalence Ratio Influence on Combustion, Performance and Exhaust Emissions of a Dual-Fuel Diesel Engine Operating on Synthetic Biogas Fuel. This experimental used a 7.5 kW single-cylinder engine distributor, direct injection, and air-cooled types. This experimental also used speed range from 0 rpm to 2,500 rpm. This engine was converted to run in conventional diesel fuel and dual-fuel mode biogas with diesel. The problem statement of this study is the increasing demand to reduce pollutant emissions from existing technologies of internal combustion engine. The objective of this study is to investigate the effects of equivalence ratio on combustion characteristic, performance and exhaust emissions of a dual-fuel diesel engine operating on synthetic biogas fuel at high loads. This slide explains about methodology of this study. In this experimental, use diesel fuel and a percentage of 60% methane and 40% carbon dioxide. This table shows about the properties of primary fuel for biogas and diesel fuel for diesel. This slide shows about the schematic diagrams of experimental. It is used two modes which are conventional diesel and dual fuel modes. In the beginning, the engine is operated only on diesel fuel to prepare the engine. The conventional modes, the engine tests were conducted under wide open throttle condition. After that, the engine is switched to dual-fuel mode. To carry out dual-fuel engine experiments, the engine conveniently modified. The synthesized gaseous fuel passes through a line to the intake manifold after mixing. Let's continue to result and discussion. This figure shows the plot of the ID evolution versus equivalent ratio for DF mode compared to conventional modes. It can be seen that ID of DF is greater than that conventional mode, where ID increases as equivalent ratio increases. The figure shows the evolution of the heat release rate versus the current angle for conventional and dual fuel modes at different total equivalent ratios. The peak of HRR increases with the increases of equivalent ratio. Furthermore, the DF combustion starts later by a few degrees of Ca compared to the conventional mode due to the extension of ID. Now, let's look at the engine performance. This figure presents the evolution of the brake thermal efficiency for all modes versus equivalent ratio. Furthermore, the BTE for the DF mode is higher than that of conventional mode. For instance, the BTE in DF at equivalent ratio equals 0.7 is better than that of diesel mode by about 19%. Next, this figure depicts the evolution of the energy-specific fuel consumption for both modes. It can be observed that the ESFC in conventional mode is lower than DF modes. On the other hand, a reduction of ESFC of 13% as equivalent ratio increases from 0.35 to 0.7 for DF mode. Let's look at exhaust emissions. This figure plotted the variation of total unburned hydrocarbon related to the variation of equivalent ratio. HC emission under DF mode is much higher than that in conventional mode. Indeed, changing equivalent ratio from 0.35 to 0.7 result in a HC emission decrease around 77%. The figure indicates the evolution of NOx emission versus equivalent ratio. On the other hand, a comparison with conventional mode shows a reduction of NOx emissions of about 42% when equivalent ratio equal to 0.7. The figure shows the evolution of carbon monoxide emissions with equivalent ratio. It can be seen that the equivalent ratio increases, the concentration of the CO emission decreases about 58%, but conventional mode is still lower than DF mode. The concentration of these pollutants is twice of the conventional mode. The figure shows the evolution of the soot emission versus total equivalent ratio. It can be explained that the concentration of soot in the exhaust gas are very low compared to the conventional modes. The reduction of soot emission is about 85%. Now, let's continue to the benefit of biogas as a fuel. First, reducing the pollutant of gas emission. The emission of HC, CO, soot and NOx reduce when the ratio of biogas is increasing. Second, improving the engine performance. The BTE for ratio 0.7 DF is higher than conventional mode by about 19%.